Okay, this guy has taken me, what was it, 3 weeks, almost a month, and let's hope that it's worth it. This is the Hasegawa 1:100 Myzr Delta. This is basically the successor to the Cypher in the Virtual On computer game series. And as you can see, here is pink and purple and white and light blue. I have done quite extensive set of photos for the build, mainly to actually show all the parts to actually build up this model. So I'm not going to talk too much about the construction. All I will say is it's fiddly and is quite flimsy as well because of the design of the character overall. Just a bit of show off of what he looks like all around. But because of the design, he is extremely detailed. Does look really good. The light body frame coupled with all of the spikes hanging out of it, that gives him a really unique and rather distinguished look. So a little bit of a gimmicks. Let's talk about those first. As you can see, the booster actually is in deployment at the moment, which can be folded up. And could hang a bit further up and sideways to basically keep them in a more neutral, ready to use position. The V converter, I think it's still called V converter, opened with a bit of clear plastic on the inside. This is supposed to come out, supposed to flip down as well, but it's really fiddly. It's actually really fragile, and I decided to stick it in. Not that I'm actually going to open it and display it with the disc hanging out anyway, so I thought I might as well stick it in. Let's see, weapon. Actually, let's take the weapon out. As you can see, the weapon is basically the two nose cone in his jet mode, which is called Mortar Crusher. Is it? Yeah, I think it's the Mortar Crusher mode. And in the game, these two basically arc to actually create an energy beam between them to become a beam falcon. It also doubles as a beam sword, and at a full charge it also becomes a continuous energy beam. So most of his weapons are actually on here. So let's take this apart. Since we will have to take it apart later on anyway. Oh, it's plugged in pretty tightly. Come on. There we go. So this hand is actually molded in, so you don't actually have to worry about the hand not being able to hold the weapon properly. And in place, we have a standard closed fist to go on top instead. And talk about spare hand. Other than the standard closed fist here, there is, oops, careful. Other than the closed fist, there is also a spare left hand, which is it looks like it's actually doing salute, but I think it probably can also double as when Myzr Delta is actually holding the energy kunai on his left hand as well. And it's not showing very well, but yeah, you have to trust me on that. Or I could show some photo later on, maybe if I actually decide to take some photo. Let's see. Let's take him off the stand. The reason I put him on the stand is because, well, as I said before, he is a bit flimsy, quite fragile. Although he can actually stand pretty well on his own, despite the really sharp pointy feet, heel. The leg articulation, as you can see, wasn't too bad, but that is because I cheated. The leg transformation joint actually is supposed to push all the way up until it clicks. But one, the click is really strong and really horrible. It's really tight. It feels like that everything is going to break. So I decided not to do it. And secondly, by shifting this a little bit down, that gives the knee armor a bit of movement and allow the whole leg to bend quite a bit further. So I decided to keep it like that. It's not going to harm anything, and the leg is still really secure. The leg is the most secure part of this kit, really. Articulation wise, the leg can actually go really high and go back really far back as well. There is some ankle movement, but because of there's a huge amount of joints down there, it's quite flimsy, but it does actually swivel left and right by small amounts, enough to actually balance him. As you can see, the waist armor, the skirt armor is actually part of the leg, so they move along with it. It does hinder a little bit, but it's not too bad. There's no waist joint because of the transformation. The head does go up and down and go 360, as long as you actually contend with all of the all of these bits and pieces of armor blocking the way. As you can see, it actually wiggle a little bit. That is because there's another transformation joint down in there that is actually not a perfectly tight lock. But then again, it's not too bad. You can actually compensate by the range of up and down movement of the neck. So it's not a problem at all. The arm does, the elbow does bend just around 90 degrees. Not a lot, but it's good enough. And well, the wrist is actually on a ball joint, so it does wiggle and come off and rotate 360. Yep. And the shoulder does allow it to fold forward and backward by a reasonable amount, but the booster on the back is blocking the way. It can bend forward up to somewhere around there before actually hitting too many stuff, and you'll basically get bored by then. And it can go back around the same amount as well. It does go out and go in a little bit, but not a lot. That is probably more or less the highest it can go without damaging anything. Well, damaging his own head actually. And it does fold all the way back down, as long as the skirt armor doesn't get in the way. So overall, it's not actually a great posing kit, but yeah, it's fun. It looks really cool. And just to prove that he can actually stand on his own pretty well, let's try to put him on the ground. There we go. There is a lot of little tiny bits and pieces that are not actually locked, which is probably going to be a turn off to some people. And painting wise, although he's actually molded in color in the pink, white and purple, and the majority of it is actually pre-painted in the plastic color, there is still a reasonable amount of parts that need to be painted. In one thing, all of the light blue are actually painted in. They're all style of white or light pink to begin with, and you have to paint all of them. There are bits and pieces like here, most of the flight surfaces, one or two of the stripes on the head and on the boosters, those white are actually painted in as well. a bit of paint here that is painted in, the paint here that is painted in. And a lot of black panel lining is required on this kit as well. So that's about it on the Virtroid by itself. However, this is a transformable unit, so with any luck, I might be able to transform it and show it to you. So back in a bit.